Welcome back to A Shark's Perspective. You've heard me talk a lot about influencer marketing several times on previous shows, but one of the topics that comes up a lot when I do presentations on this topic is from people who want to specifically know, what about us? What about brands needing B2B influencers? It's a much different method of influencer marketing, and it's still in its infancy. Today's guest and I both spoke at the 2019 Internet Summit, which is sort of the flagship event, if you will, for the Digital Summit series. So we recorded a podcast live at Internet Summit and went into greater detail on her presentation on influencer marketing strategies. Ursula Ringham is the head of global influencer marketing at SAP, as well as a storyteller, author, and speaker. And on this episode, we'll discuss Internet Summit, Raleigh, North Carolina, and the Research Triangle, B2B influencer marketing, what's similar and what's not with B2C, fixing problems for customers, pushing your agencies, especially the ones who don't know this space well, Germany, the San Jose Sharks, Ja Rule and the Fire Festival, and a lot more. So let's tune in to a B2B influencer leader with a very influential shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. All right, Ursula, thank you so much for joining us today on A Shark's Perspective. If you will, tell us a couple seconds about your career to date, please.
Oh my gosh, where do I even begin? I have a very unusual career in that I randomly stumbled into high tech at the age of 20 and got a job at Adobe. I had no idea what hardware or software was.
It was like 2 years ago, though, right?
Yeah, exactly 2 years ago. Adobe was a very small company then, and then eventually I went over and worked at Apple when Steve Jobs had just come back. That's when I said my training wheels came off and I really hit the ground there learning about marketing, and I was on the developer side of things. The interesting part of my career is I left Apple right before Apple took off with its second renaissance and stayed home with kids. So I was at home for about 8 years. I didn't just sit there and do nothing. I actually had a book published and did other things. But I wanted to get back into high tech, and it took a good 2 years. No one wanted to hire me. No one thought I had the right experience. You've been out of high tech for too long. And guess what? SAP was the company that took a chance on me. I started off writing customer success stories. It led into managing social media channels and then the digital marketing strategy for the small and mid-sized business. And then I got into influencer marketing, and today I'm head of our global influencer marketing program.
So we're here at Internet Summit in Raleigh, North Carolina, a place you don't naturally think of necessarily as a tech capital, but there are thousands of people here in the Research Triangle. This has been a pretty impressive conference so far. What are your thoughts so far on the...
I mean, I'm amazed. There are so many people from different walks of life, different industries that you would never think, do they have a digital presence? And they're like, we need to. Yesterday, a gentleman came up to me, and on my presentation, I was talking about influencers, and he's like, I love this. And I said, what industry are you in? He's like, I sell wires.
Yeah.
Wires?
You're right.
And who's going to be your influencer? But he's like, listen, I've got a young group of millennials, and I'm like, let's innovate. Let's do something different. I want to do influencers. I'm like, go for it. Push the damn button and start doing it.
Well, I've attended a lot of their shows, and this one's been pretty impressive. I was just, I think a lot of people, there were some folks I met even from FinTech that were in Charlotte that drove here for this, I just spoke at the event about a month or so ago in Charlotte, and I was amazed at how many people commuted here, because this is where Digital Summit really got the start. The two brothers, I think, that founded it are from Raleigh. So you spoke about influencer marketing. We're doing the session right after the time when Ja Rule is even talking about Fire Festival. But when I think of influencer marketing, even in B2B, the first thing I don't think of is a German company in enterprise software. So what is sort of the B2B influencer world for you, and help redefine, because I present a lot at conferences about influencer marketing, and what comes up as a question all the time is, but wait, we're in the B2B space, what do we do? You're an expert in this field. You presented yesterday at the event. How do you see influencer marketing in the B2B space?
In the B2B space, it's in its infancy. So first of all, a little background, SAP, your listeners are probably like, what the heck is that? German company, we're one of the largest business software enterprise companies in the world. 77% of all revenue transactions run through SAP. Mm-hmm. So I tell people, we're the biggest company that no one knows about but uses every day. And so what we have to do is our influencers are very different. So the B2C, you might have an influencer on Instagram in a bikini holding sunglasses, right? That's a
half-naked girls on Instagram.
Half-naked girls on Instagram. In our market, that's not going to work.
No.
We are looking at business challenges and how our software can help the world run better and improve people's lives. So what we do is we look for those thought leaders. These are people that have knowledge about, let's say, IoT, blockchain, and how businesses are using this. And so our products map to that, right? Our products are innovative. But we use influencers, or collaborate with influencers, I should say, because they have an audience we want to reach. So we don't go after that Instagram bikini influencer. It's thought leaders. They might have been a practitioner at one point. Maybe they were an analyst at a big tier 1 firm, but now have gone out on their own. And their audiences want to hear from them. And so they might have a podcast, they might have a video series, they might have blogs, and we work with them to tell that story. What are those business challenges and how technology is affecting businesses? I never say to them, sell our product, because our product, SAP, you can't touch it, you can't taste it, you can't hold it. And so it's talking about those topics, and then after that piece of content is created, we lead people to SAP. So it's the influencer is the teaser to cut through the noise, and then, hey, if you are a business having these challenges, click here, and you're going to find out more about how SAP can help you.
Yeah, I mean, at best, even 20 years ago, it would have come in a series of CDs at best. So when you start thinking about the kind of content that they produce, what guidance do you give them? I mean, you gave a lot of the same thing that I talked about when talking about influencer marketing, about having them get in the creative, let them, push and let it be authentic and things like that. But, when you think of influencers, so many people think of they're going to wear a makeup product or whatever, and then they're going to tag it, and they're going to tag the product or some clothing that they might wear. What do you really expect from someone to say that's a thought leader and they are producing content or talking about SAP? What are the kind of goals you look for, the KPIs you maybe want to establish for those kind of campaigns?
Yeah, so first of all, what we have to look at is what is that audience we're trying to reach? What type of mediums resonate with that audience? Because maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's a video, maybe it's a blog. There are certain audiences, because mind you, we have a full gamut of products, front end, back end, HR, I mean, you name it. And that audience might lead blogging. They want to read it. Right? Some audiences want video. So first of all, what's the audience? Then we look at the influencer. And there are some influencers that, I'm sorry, they're horrible on video, right? But they're excellent at blogging. So you have to look at the audience, type of content that resonates. Then you have to look at the influencer. Who is the one that tells the best story that maps to those business challenges and whatnot? But also you have to look at what medium are they best at? And so it's a combination of things, and in B2B, you have to get very specific, and it's not just, oh, let's go do a live stream. It's like, why? Why would we do that? Why is it important? Well, maybe this particular influencer, people know their audience likes the live stream. They want to see them at an event and hear from them live. So to answer your question, the B2B influencer marketing is in its infancy, and we tested a lot of things out in 2019, and I cannot wait for 2020. We've got some new things that we're going to be throwing out there that a lot of our competitors aren't doing, and it'll be interesting to see how the content resonates. Because the one key thing, you never make a mistake, it's lessons learned. You learn from putting out content, you reiterate, and then you put it out again. And this happens with influencers, ebbs and flows. You might have an influencer one year, you're working with them, and then they go off and do something totally different. Well, you're probably not going to work with them again, but that's okay. You keep just reiterating. Yeah,
it's the Wild West in B2B, because you're figuring out and hoping to fail fast. It's not the cookie cutter approach with a lot of consumer brands where you're just tagging the product you're wearing or doing something like that. So when you look at the size of the influencer and their reach, are you kind of in that nano influencer, or are you in a micro influencer? What size audience?
Good point. I first of all look at the quality over quantity. And it's interesting because, for example, digital supply chain. I don't know if your audience knows what that is, but basically that any product you buy goes through a supply chain. It's very hard to find influencers that have a large following. They just don't.
Exactly.
Because they're very knowledgeable, they're experts, but maybe they don't spend a lot of time on social media. But when they do publish something, whether it's a tweet, a blog, a video, their audience pays attention. And so in that respect, and this is what I get into in my talk is, if you are getting into influencer marketing and want to create a program, you yourself have to be in social media. And I don't mean every day you have to be posting things. I mean, mind you, 7 years ago when I got started, I was using Hootsuite. I'm like, I gotta just publish.
Right.
But what I found is over time, it's just paying attention, reading, watching, listening to everything out there, and then naturally you're gonna find those influencers that you wanna work with.
Well, you got to post your content somewhere, your thoughts somewhere, rather than, have you seen anything so far with any medium that really sticks out to you? Because when you think about this, especially with an ERP software package, you're talking about a much more complex sale as well. So those conversations where they need to elaborate and put their thoughts out there on ERP would be a much more complex, longer form conversation than obviously simply tagging. Have you seen blogs resonate better? Have you seen live video resonate better? At least from your audience's standpoint, not necessarily the quality of the content they produce, but the feedback you get from your audience.
Sure, so I have a great example. So first of all, for your audience, ERP is enterprise resource planning, and majority of any company out there that sells goods and has to manage a budget and everything, they're using this because it's all in one place. And when I was managing the small business side for SAP on the digital marketing side, what we were trying to do is showcase to small businesses that SAP is relevant for them. People usually think SAP, huge, large companies like Coca-Cola. Why would I, a small business of maybe 10 million, why would I even think of SAP? And so what we did to reach them is our influencers were customers.
Yeah, great point.
We would bring in, our customers were the best influencers, so we'd pair them with a influencer in the small business area, and the customer would just talk about, oh my gosh, this was our business challenge. We were using Excel to manage our entire budget and inventory and blah, blah, blah. Then we started to grow, and our distribution was outside of the United States. It was somewhere else. And then, things got complicated, and then, oh my gosh, a company wanted to acquire us, and here we're on Excel. And people, not to dismiss Excel, because there's there's a place for it, but when you're managing a business that goes from 5 million to 10 million to 20 million and then above, you got to have everything in one place and be sure that it's accurate, and that's where an ERP product comes in. And so, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but just to show you the power of it is, we showcase real life examples. We don't like to talk about the product. It's more if it resonates with you and you're like, oh, we're in the exact same situation. What do I do? Then you click here, you find out more of how we can help you.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. If anybody's talking any more about features and all the wonderful brand babble that nobody
I could say
cares
S/4HANA,
about.
and you're going to go,
yeah, exactly.
What's that? No.
Exactly.
No, please don't talk about product names.
Well, and it goes with, mutual friend of ours, Ginger Shimp.
Love Ginger.
So they produced, as part of that content for Leonardo product, they produced a podcast series that was fictional about Leonardo da Vinci, and it didn't sell the product, it told a story. So there are ways of getting the word out there without brand speak all the time. And so I think that's really important to focus on helping fix the customer's problems, not everything else.
And you hit the nail on the head there by saying story.
Yeah.
Tamsin Webster,
Yeah.
I saw her
Fantastic
yesterday
speaker.
and met her for the first time. She's awesome. She talks about the red thread, and it's all storytelling. It is in the story. And it's fascinating because when I work with our product marketing teams, they're like, as I mentioned, S/4HANA, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Talk about the business challenge. I actually get in there. In my background, I'm a writer. And I get in there and I'm like, what is that story? Let's not bore the audience, because you're going to lose that attention span in 5 seconds if you can't tell a good story. And you know what? If we can tell a good story with influencers for SAP, we're doing something right.
Mm-hmm. So another challenge that I'm sure you run into with this being a new-ish space, because SAP is a huge company, works with a ton of agencies. Have you seen this consistently be a problem with the types of agencies that come to you and say, we've got this wonderful idea for influencer marketing? Are most of them today in the B2B space completely missing the mark? Are they in pretty good shape? I have my own findings that I've seen, but I'm really curious to see and hear what you've kind of come as you sort of audit this space, building out this program.
I love this question.
Yeah.
There are not many agencies that do B2B marketing in the first place.
Yeah.
Influencer marketing, excuse me. And then the ones that do, it gets even narrower on do it well. Top Rank, fantastic. I won't go into detail because I don't want to turn this into endorsement, but they're a great agency. We work with other ones that do influencer marketing too. But I get contacted all the time and solicited. And I'm going to tell you one story because I think this is very fascinating how this works. This one gentleman at South by Southwest who works for an influencer relationship management platform company somehow got in front of our CMO. and he's selling her on, hey, I want to reach out to you. You need to use our platform, whatever. So I know our CMO, Alicia Tillman, she's amazing. And she forwarded this gentleman's information. Hey, work with Ursula Ringham. She's head of influencer marketing. So the gentleman and I went back and forth, and we were trying to set up a time to meet. And it was just, we're all busy, right? And so unfortunately, I didn't get back to him fast enough. He went back to our CMO, and I just went, okay, I'm going to call this person right now today. So I called him up, and the first question I asked him is I said, what's SAP? He did not have an answer.
Wow.
And so two things there. One, if anyone's in sales, know who you're trying to sell to. And two, for B2B, you have to understand the market. And I kind of schooled him because I used it as a learning, and I wasn't mean about it, but I was like, first of all, know what SAP is. And I said, let me tell you about B2B influencer marketing. It opened his eyes. And so I think there's a lot of companies right now that do a lot of influencer marketing for B2C that do it very well, but B2B is very, very different. And I welcome agencies to come to me, and I have these different influencer relationship management platforms that come to me, and I'll go, great, let's test this out. I said, great, show me top 10 influencers for IoT and B2B.
Exactly, yeah.
And they come back to me, and I'm like, Instagram, YouTube, let's go look at these, and it's a miss. And I think what happens is they're not doing their homework. Are you actually watching the content? Like, I watch, listen, and read all my influencer content because I want to make sure before I even engage with them. You don't look and see, oh, they have 200,000 followers, let's work with them, because then they could be a bikini model.
Right, exactly.
That's not right for our audience.
Yeah.
So to answer your question about like agencies, I welcome, because hey, I can't be everywhere. Maybe there's an agency that's doing something absolutely crazy and amazing with B2B influencer marketing. If you are, please contact me. But I think for agencies out there, that's the next big wave is you've gone for the B2C, and now we're seeing backlash, obviously with Instagram taking away the likes and stuff like that. But the influencer marketing, it's still a nut that needs to be cracked. And mind you, I'm learning every day.
Sure.
I'm doing things, I'm not perfect with this, but I'm having a lot of fun, I'm learning, and everyone I work with, we're after the same goal. You know, we want to help our businesses run better, improve the world, and build awareness about what we're doing.
Well, that would be the same kind of bad agency that might refer over Lee Oden to you because he is a B2B. Specifically
B2B.
That's his thing, and he does it well, but that doesn't make him the expert in enterprise software.
No.
So, I have found more, to me, I've just seen more often right now that it seems like the brands that are doing this well, they're the ones educating the agencies on how to do B2B influencer marketing, because so many people have just sort of taken the cookie cutter approach with consumer marketing and influencers. It becomes the young girl on Instagram hawking a product, and that works well for that space, but that's not the space that B2B lives in at all.
And I must emphasize that an agency is a extension of your influencer marketing program. They shouldn't own it. So that's one thing I want to emphasize is agencies are there to help you. I think they're amazing with building content, but I still like to have in my purview ownership of the relationship.
Yeah.
Now mind you, agency can help behind the scenes talking with them, but I'm sorry, I'm the main person. So when we work with influencers, I like to meet with them personally. I like to have a phone call, just, hey, who are you? And it's funny because I'll get on a phone call with an influencer, and the first thing they start mentioning, oh, Ursula, I'm $250,000 just to show up at a keynote. And I'm like, so I'm Ursula, I was born in Palo Alto, where are you from? Don't start, I want to get to know who you are. And I'm going to do a little research ahead of time to at least know where you're from.
Yeah.
But I want to build up that relationship. And then let's start talking about how we can both align. Is your brand aligning with ours? As much as I would want you to work with us, maybe SAP doesn't align with your brand, right? And that's okay. We've had influencers say no. And you know what? Here at the conference, I had someone in a B2B company come up to me and they said, Ursula, I really like this influencer. And I went to them and asked them, can they work with us? And they said, no, what do I do? And I said, move on, find someone else. Because if an influencer, if you've done everything you can and they're like, no, there's a reason. Maybe they're not going to tell you. Maybe they don't want to be associated. But mind you, the type of influencer content we create, I never ask our influencers to endorse SAP. It's all about the topics.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, IoT, machine learning, whatever it is. And oh, by the way, then if you want to look at something else, go over there. Because our influencers, they work for all of our competitors too. And that's okay.
Yeah.
You should be a free agent. You should be talking about your thought leadership, about the topic, and not have to focus on the product. How boring
especially
is that?
in B2B, influencers have to, again, show similar real customers how they are going to fix their problems, not go buy a makeup brush and, it's a wonderful way. And I'm poo-pooing way too much on that form of influencer marketing, and I shouldn't, but
there is a place for it.
There is a
believe me.
wonderful place for it. It's a great way to move products as well, but it's not the same. And I absolutely love, I think, so much of what you just said, because there aren't enough brands that know to challenge their agencies that way. And so they get boxed in with, here's what you should do, and they follow it, and then they fall into a trap if they don't know.
And my agencies love me because I'll come to them and say, this doesn't work, I disagree.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is fantastic, because they need the input. Don't blindly let your agency run everything.
Yeah.
Give their input, you know?
Yeah, well, you'll have to explain how you did that, because agencies I work with don't love me because I push back. So what have you seen in B2C and B2B influencer marketing work the same? Is there anything that you've been able to leverage out of those best practices that you see consistently the same?
I'm going to steal
Now,
Bev
I
Jack's-
would wear a bikini for $250,000 and talk about ERP if you wanted me to, but
No, I'm going to steal from Bev Jackson. She's the head of digital at MGM Resorts. FOMO as a KPI.
yeah.
That is the
Great
consistent
presentation.
around both the B2B and B2C, because ultimately, if you can find, and mind you, the B2B FOMO, we're still trying to crack that. But if we can create that, like, you need to be here, you need to hear this, other companies are doing this, you're not digitally transforming, you're going to be left behind. If we can get that FOMO, right, then you have a win-win, because everyone likes to be heard, everyone likes to share their story, and they're like, wow, I'm not doing that, I want to be part of it. Same with in the B2C. Everyone, these influencers want to be at the MGM Grand Resorts. They want to hang out there. They want to be at the pool. You can't be at the pool with SAP, but there's other ways we can do that with on the business side. That if you're not digitally transforming, you're falling behind. And let me tell you, your competitors, they're starting to use our products, and they're starting to save time, money, and they're speeding ahead.
Well,
of you.
it's just like MarTech and AdTech. If you're not innovative,
Yep,
you
if you're not
die
innovative,
off.
yep.
So other than just the agencies giving you sometimes bad advice because they know the other kind of influencer marketing, and I mean, we're at a presentation where Ja Rule presented talking about the Fire Festival.
That was a disaster.
Yeah. How much of that really pollutes a lot of the work that you're doing? I mean, we've talked about some of the worst practices that come up a lot, but are you having to spend more time educating than executing now on the good campaigns that you come up with?
No, so the great thing is I've proven myself. So I've been able to show the worth of these programs, what we're doing, and my stakeholders really like it. And so when I come to them with a new idea, a new crazy innovative campaign we want to do, they're like, I'm game. And that's the one thing is, like, with influencer marketing, you need budget and you need support. Mm-hmm. And I'd say actually support is even bigger. So you need your network of your confidants that believe in you, right? And I help everyone, right? This is a group challenge to get SAP brand awareness. We're in this together.
Yeah.
And so that's the one thing is that you have to earn that respect, and I believe I've done that. And so now I'm scaling and growing the team, and it's really fun because we're in this, maybe I'm giving away some secrets that I'm not supposed to tell, but I can't wait for 2020. We're going to knock it out of the park this year with influencer marketing in the B2B space. It's going to be fun. So,
question I wanted to ask yesterday, but I knew we were going to do this, so I saved it instead of raising my hand and trying to scream at the back of the hall. How do you really look at attribution with your influencer campaigns? How do you measure the success of that?
So first of all, measuring success, there's no industry benchmark for B2B. There isn't. So what we do is at the beginning of the year, and mind you, what you do each year changes. So live stream was big,
yeah, great
right?
point.
So I can't use those attributes this year for my KPIs because we're not doing as much live streaming, right? But what we do is we could build on it. So for example, let's say we're doing a blog series over the year. Q1, maybe this one, we're using 5 influencers, 5 blogs a quarter. Then we look at it and we benchmark it and say, look, we got this many views, we got this many impressions, we got this many click-throughs. Guys, I want to increase that by 10%. Okay, what can we do to make it better? And I want to increase it. Just like any business, right? When you look at sales, you want to keep growing it. So that's how we look at it, because there's no set benchmarks. And also, everyone knows it can be manipulated, because I'm just going to throw 5,000 on paid. Like, I'm not going to name names here, but there was a recent live stream, and they're like, wow, we got, and I'm hypothetically here, we got 10,000 unique views. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you paid on it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I saw that. I was there, and I saw there's only 200 people watching it. And mind you, so that's why it ebbs and flows. And what I do is I sit down with each of my stakeholders, because we work with a lot of different teams, and I said, very first thing, what does success look like for you? They might just be awareness. Like, we want to show up, like, we're at this event, we want like share of voice. So let's say we go to Mobile World Congress. Great example. We brought a few influencers. For one day when we had influencers there, they were talking about SAP. When you look at the leaderboard for hashtags, they were leading just like 3 influencers talking about SAP. That was huge, right? When we have our big Sapphire conference, 20% of all of the social chatter going on that 3 days was from 30 of my influencers. That's huge. That's how you prove the attributes. So it's not a perfect science. There's no exact benchmarks, but as long as you work with each of your stakeholders to outline what you want to do and they have agreement, then it'll work out. And then, I would love to have some industry benchmarks on this, but it changes all the time, and it changes on the mediums that you use.
Well, it's so easy to compare it with, B2C with typical influencers, where you're just judging off that kind of engagement, but that's not the same kind of engagement you necessarily want in the B2B space whatsoever.
No, and then likes now with Instagram, how are you going to be able to show this?
Yeah.
So it's, anyone out there that thinks they have the formula or the secret recipe, please contact me. I'd love to know. Hey, mind you, if you're a platform that measures this, reach out to me, because maybe there's something I haven't seen.
Yeah, I mean, this is truly one of those ones where Markov needs to come back and come up with a better model at this point in time to measure influencer marketing through some sort of modeled attribution. Then what do you want to see move quickly in this space to help you do more with influencers?
Can I have more money?
Yeah. If you show the attribution on it, absolutely.
I shouldn't say money. People. I started off at SAP as a one-woman band, like doing a lot of things. And mind you, we're starting to scale, but I think you need good people that understand, good people that understand social media. People that are in it, they have somewhat of a social presence. You don't have to have, I'm only like a total of like 18,000 followers across all the platforms. Not huge, but let me tell you, at SAP, that's unheard of. People don't do that. But I want more people that are in it, that understand it, that network, can build relationships, because relationships is the key to influencer marketing. And so for me, I just want more good people that I can work with. Right now I use agencies, which is fine. And I do have a small team that's growing, but that's what I want, is more people that are excited for this, have a passion for it. I don't have any openings right now, but that's what I want. And I do have people in the company, and this is kind of a neat little secret of SAP, is I'll have people coming up going, hey, I live in that town where this event is, could I come out and help you? And they're part of SAP, and maybe they're good at videos. I'm like, yes. And I said, I'll get you a pass, you can get in there. And then for them, it gives them an opportunity to test out a new skill that they want to do. And so I think I went off tangent here on what you're talking about, but my point is, I want more people that are passionate about this topic area to work with me.
That's okay. I have ADD, so I forgot what the question was anyway.
You might want to edit that out, I don't know.
No, so at 18,000 followers, fair question, do you consider yourself an influencer in the space?
Yes and no. The no is because I'd be embarrassed to even think that I can influence. But let me tell you, Sarah Evans, well-known influencer, she invited me to an event. It was a launch of this new platform, and I'm not going to go into detail because look it up yourself. It's called Forbes 8. Absolutely fascinating. It's a video platform for entrepreneurs and small businesses, and I love the whole concept. I attended the event. I tweeted about it, but then where my influence comes in is I'm someone that can connect the dots, and I know a lot of people. So guess what? I'm looking into ways that SAP could work with them. I'm looking into ways, so many different things. So I'm someone that connects the dots. I introduce a lot of people because I know a lot of people. And that's why networking and knowing people is so important in influencer marketing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So you're on a shark's perspective. Somebody nicknamed Shark. What is your favorite kind of shark and why?
Hammerhead.
And why?
I think because they're the ugly ones, maybe, that they're different looking. And, I was that ugly duckling when I was little, and you had to stand out certain ways, and I think through story and humor I stood out, though I'm horrible right now with telling jokes, so don't even ask. But I'd say the hammerhead. They just look like an interesting, not misfit of the shark community, but they're just different. And the little research I've done on them, they just stand out to me. And I've never seen one live in person.
Oh wow, they're beautiful.
But from what I've seen on videos, they are absolutely beautiful and stunning.
Yeah, I've never seen one off the California coast. Most of them I've seen are either in the Gulf or on the Atlantic. So I'm trying to think right now if I've
had friends that have seen a swarm of hammerheads off of Cabo San Lucas, and they were scuba diving below it, and they're like, it was magical.
Oh yeah, no, they're absolutely beautiful. I mean, I've seen the Galapagos is the best place. So, Ursula, now's the time. Are you ready for the 5 most interesting, important questions you're going to be asked today?
All
right, number 1, Germany or the U.S.?
That's a trick question.
Yeah, you have a German name. You work for a German company.
You know, it's really funny.
But God bless the USA.
I'll come to meetings and my colleagues start speaking German. I'm like, no, I'm a California girl. Yeah. I actually I'd do both. I mean, I hate to say it, but we're in this day and age, you can work and live anywhere, and I would probably do half and half. Germany's a beautiful country. I love the European influence there. Germans are very different than Americans. But you know what? Living in the United States, being born and raised in California, can't beat it.
So you live in the Bay Area, in the tech community. San Jose or San Francisco? Got to pick one or the other.
Well, I live in San Jose.
Oh, okay.
And I live in a very small community called Willow Glen, and I love it. And to tell you the truth, San Francisco's always been, growing up there, I grew up in Palo Alto. Love San Francisco, but it's going through a huge change right now. I don't want to get into topic about that. But where I live in San Jose, when we moved there, all of our friends in the peninsula are like, what are you doing at San Jose? San Jose is a killer place to live. You have tech companies all around there, and people are clamoring to live in our little neighborhood because we have a little downtown, and it's kind of like Palo Alto 20 years ago.
And they have the Sharks in San Jose.
And they have the San Jose Sharks, and we have Sharks and 49ers that live in our neighborhood.
Yeah, but it's also an area where 120,000 is like the poverty line. So that's
it's
a different issue altogether. Yep. Number 3, an influencer question, because you also brought up the Sapphire Conference, and I'll use the 2019 example, and where we are today, live at Internet Summit. Ja Rule or Sandra Bullock?
Sandra Bullock.
Is she a good speaker?
She's a good speaker. Great life lessons. I mean, she's her one woman. I mean, mind you, Ja Rule, I'm sure, he relates to a certain audience, but he just doesn't relate to me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But Sandra Bullock's great.
Number 4, Digital Summit at any of the locations or Internet Summit. I'm going to say Internet Summit because this is where the whole thing got started, but they do like 20 other shows all over the country.
I like the energy here in Raleigh the best. I've done about 5 to 6 of these this year in lots of great locations. I think the power for the Internet Summits is when they go to a location that maybe doesn't have all the digital marketing expertise. Like I was in Detroit a couple years ago. It's fantastic. Who would know Detroit now is this hotbed for developing innovative different content on digital. But I'd say Raleigh has been eye-opening, and I really like the audience here.
Yeah, I mean, I just did the one, like I said, in Charlotte a few weeks ago. This is 2 or 3 times the size, and it's just got a lot more energy. All right, number 5, and the most important question you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Well, I had the most fantastic, pork dip cornbread at Pools down the street here.
Nice.
Oh, my God. So
really?
I'd say cornbread.
All right. Ursula, where can people find out more about you, become one of your 18,001 plus 1 followers, and more?
So my name, Ursula Ringham, that's Ursula, Ringham, like a ring you wear in your finger, and ham, so Ringham. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, all with that, just my name,
Perfect.
Ursula Ringham. My name is my brand.
Ursula, thank you again for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
Thank you for having me.
So there was my conversation with Ursula Ringham, the head of global influencer marketing at SAP, as well as a storyteller, author, and speaker. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from our conversation with her. First, Ursula brings up several great points with B2B influencers, especially as she elaborates on how B2B influencer marketing today is still in its infancy. They are testing a lot and working quickly to see what works. But I love her point on how brands and agencies have to not only look at the channels of influencers, but also what medium that they use. Her example is that an influencer may not be great on video, but is great at blogging. This should be an obvious point, but I can recollect a few examples as well from my own past where brands have leveraged an influencer with the wrong tool per se. For an influencer to have real influence in what they say, just make sure that they say it in their right voice, if you will, and then with the right channel using the right tool. Look at influencers in B2B to help describe the narrative of how to help fix customer problems and not just be a brand advocate. Second, your customers are the best influencers. If your business is helping people solve problems, which it should be, then quite simply you'll often find that the people whose problems you've helped solve are often the ones that will help influence the next generation, if you will, of consumers and future customers who need a trusted referral for a solution. Third, not every agency is created equal. There are a lot of agencies who understand B2C influencer marketing fairly well, but B2B is so different. A lot of followers doesn't often make a good B2B influencer, especially if they don't know the specific industry or technology. In B2B, you have to know the market. Unfortunately, a lot of agencies today are giving bad information on B2B strategies because of truly not understanding the specific space. I've seen where a lot of brands are having to push and guide the agencies because of the industry expertise rather than looking at just a follower count. And brands should be comfortable owning more of that relationship to some degree. For her, she said, and I quote, "An agency is an extension of your influencer marketing program. They shouldn't own it." So, challenge your agencies if you're on the brand side, and challenge them especially on attribution. Lots of ways to help manipulate likes and shares and so on. So know what you're really asking for and make sure it isn't the immediate engagement metric you seek on typical influencer marketing efforts. However, make sure that you work with your agency to help figure out what that KPI is and understand how you're going to figure out the attribution that goes with it. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you for the privilege of your time. And just remember, sharks are always influential in the water or out. So join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.